What's good, Wizards fans? The Washington Wizards get blown out 112-94. The Boston Celtics shoot red hot from the three-point line. Back-to-back games where we get torched by the other team from the three-point line. Bradley Beal struggles tonight. Let's talk about it. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your guy, the real Ed Oliver, and my guy Brandon Scott. Just want to thank you guys for listening. Making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day, and make your second listen Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, so the Wizards lost 112-94 against the Boston Celtics. They got torched by the Pacers the other night as well. Brandon, what was your thoughts about Bradley Beal's performance tonight, and also Wes Unseld Jr. deciding to start Anthony Gill in the second half instead of Denny Avdia?
Oh my man, Bradley Beal, the real deal Bill. He wasn't looking like the real deal tonight. I mean, didn't score to the third quarter. You know, he struggled. He struggled from the field. He's just, we talked a lot about expectations of a franchise player, being that number one option, being that guy for a franchise. This is unacceptable. You know, not scoring a point to the third quarter. This is the Boston Celtics. This is a team that is in the path to a championship. If he mentioned before the season that his aspirations, and I know a lot of people laugh and they thought he was lying, but he said he was serious about building a championship culture and a championship team in DC. You know, if you want to be that guy, one, you have to show up every game, every single game. I know people are going to say, oh, everybody got, off nights. I'm going to look at it. All right, I'm going to use an example. The Jordan documentary, it was Ahmad Rashad, and he was talking about when the Bulls, right before the 1980 season, when they went to France, and how a lot of players didn't take it serious, but Jordan did. And he was saying that Jordan always played like, somebody in the crowd was watching him play for the first time. There was no off nights for Jordan. You look at a lot of these great players, these foundational players, Magics to LeBron James, there's no such thing as an off night. You're that guy. You are that top tier guy. You're the guy for this franchise. You don't score a single point to the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, you're down by 20 and you smiling? What are you smiling at? You're down by 20. I mean, right. Look, I know you you grew up with Jason Tatum and it's cute and it's cool, but look, this is team basketball. This is the NBA. Look, it's time to play. There are no friends on the court. Look, Russell Westbrook once said, I have no friends on the court. Look, you got to have the dog mentality. You having a good time now, that's unacceptable. And getting to Denny, Denny struggled. I mean, everybody struggled. I mean, there were a few bright spots we're going to get to in a little bit, but Monte Morris, while he did contribute 7 rebounds, 3 points. The shot just wasn't dropping. Brad Beal, 12 points, 4 for 16, 2 for 7 from the arc. Unacceptable. As you mentioned, Denny, 6 points. Kuz, 9 points. Now, Porzingis did pitch in 17 points, 13 boards. You look at the bench, Rui, 13 points, but, 9 rebounds. But we're going to touch base on ISO ball. But Barton struggled, 4 points. Jordan Goodwin was a bright spot. But the decision to bring Gill in, yeah, he had to, because Denny was just getting cooked. Tatum and Brown were just doing whatever they wanted. Malcolm Brogdon off the bench was doing whatever he wanted to do. And that was, Brogdon is another player that was connected to us and he's cooking us, what I mean? And it shows. He's just, wow. So my takeaway is Bradley Beal has to step up. He's got to take it serious. He's got to have that dog mentality. He's got to have that Mamba mentality, shout out to Cole. You got to have that killer mentality. You can't be smiling. You got to be out here and be that dog, that killer on the court. And it just showed. We were just not prepared. Indiana kind of humbled us, and the Celtics just showed. We both said that this is a measuring stick game, and it showed. We played like a play-in team. We played like a team that, we complain about not getting a top 10 pick. We play like this all season, and we were going to get that top 10 pick. So, that's my takeaways from it.
Mm. No, yeah, it was awful. I mean, for your best player who you just paid, 35% of the salary cap, $250 million over 5 years to go 0 for 12 to start off the game. And then the first free throw he shoots, he misses the free throw, and they cut the lead down to 43 to 53, or they were down by 9 at the half. So it was a winnable game, but you need your number one guy to step up and be a leader and take over. This is a big reason why they lost this game. You look at the other side of the court, like you said, Jason Tatum, he took over from the jump. From the start of the game, he hit back-to-back threes. Jaylen Brown had 16 points in the first quarter. Guess how many points the Wizards had in the first quarter? 15 points.
Yeah.
15 points. Jaylen Brown single-handedly beat the Wizards in the first quarter, 16 to 15. Jason Tatum had double-digit points in the first quarter. And you would think that the Wizards would learn from the Pacers game, but it looked like the same thing, the same old thing, the same old song from that Pacers game. Not stepping out on threes. The pick-and-roll defense is atrocious. Like you said, the communication needs work as well. Closing out, rotating. The defense is a mess ever since DeLon Wright left or is out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Jordan Goodwin, you brought up Jordan Goodwin. He played pretty well, but you can only expect so much from him. Johnny Davis came in. We'll talk about him a little bit later. I like that he scored. I give him credit for that. And he cut to the basket. I did like that. But yeah, Bradley Beal as a leader, as a number one guy, or who's supposed to be a number one guy, you can't have nights like this, man. You can have some off nights, but you can't start off 0 for 12, man. You can't do that. He didn't really get going until the fourth quarter when the game was basically out of reach. It was a blowout, and other guys working hard and stepping up. But, yeah, you're not getting stops. And like you said, the Jason Tatum story is cool and fun and dandy, but why are you smiling and joking with him when you're getting blown out every time? Last year we got blown out by the Celtics too, and he was joking around and smiling with Jason Tatum. Like, this is your job. This is the competition. You're supposed to have that mentality where, hey, we're not friends right now. I'm not going to let you beat my team by 20 and I score 0. And we're going to dap up and hug and whatnot. It's just not how it's supposed to work. You can be friendly, I guess, after the game, but during the game, you got to put that poker face on and go out there and score. That's what you're known for. You're known for scoring. And you're going out there 0 for 10, 0 for 12. And that's why a lot of people question about that contract, about the no trade clause and the trade kicker. All that stuff is questionable because of this. And Brad didn't play well last year. And I think the first couple games he played better. The clutch game against the Bulls and the clutch game against the Pacers. The first time we played the Pacers. But yeah, this is a very disappointing performance from Bradley Beal. It's not all on him, but when you're that number one guy, that weight is going to be on your shoulders. When you get that contract, it's going to be on your shoulders, and you got that target on your back. And the decision to start the West decision to start Anthony Gill in the second half instead of Denny. This is a questionable decision. Anthony Gill wasn't great on defense either, but the lineup that did bring them back, it was Gill, Porzingis. I wrote it down because they actually had a mini comeback. Denny, it was Jordan Goodwin, Bradley Beal, Porzingis, Anthony Gill, and Denny was in the lineup in there too when they cut the lead to 43 to 53. So I'm just not really understanding the benching, to be honest. 100%, I get it. Denny wasn't playing, but there were other guys that weren't playing well either. So, but we're gonna get to more on the game. But before we do get into that, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline where the game starts. All right, so just looking at the stats as well, because we talked about that before we started the podcast. The Wizards shot 38% from the field. 21% from the three-point line. The Celtics shot 44% from the three-point line, scorching hot, just like the Pacers were. The Celtics were 19 for 20 from the free throw line. We were 11 for 16, 68%. We actually out-rebounded them 52 to 47. We actually had 16 offensive boards, so we did a good job on that. 22 assists, ball movement. We just didn't see much ball movement. The offense was stagnant. The Celtics had 29 assists. We had 6 blocks. They had 5 blocks. We only had 10 turnovers. So it's not like we turned the ball over a lot tonight. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We're just so poor on the defensive side of the ball. We had 46 points in the paint. We only allowed 28 points in the paint because they were just so hot from the three. But yeah, just what was your thoughts on the ball movement and defense, and then any other takeaways that you had in the game?
I'm gonna touch back real fast on Denny. I agree. It was very questionable with Gill because it wasn't on Denny. It was a team
Mm-hmm.
struggle. There were bright spots, but it wasn't on Denny. I was surprised because even though he struggled, he was still solid defensively. So yeah, very questionable call. But this really illuminates three people here. Obviously, Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal as a number one. It comes into questions. If you look at the Bulls game it really changes your mind a little bit because it was a close game and it was without two key players. So, really illuminates a little bit. It's just, man, but two other people, Wes, his forte coming to DC was defense.
Right,
This is
right.
year two. Year two. How long is it's kind of like going, I'm gonna touch base on football. How many years you gonna wait for the system to be implemented? Touching on Ron Rivera. So getting back to the West, year two, you want to start to see some fruitation. You brought over Monte Morris, you brought over Barton. You want to see something with defense. It's atrocious. And Tommy Shepard, look, these are the type of signings that get people fired. You sign a guy to a supermax not knowing, if he's that number one option or not. You the number one guy, you got to show up. So, getting to the stats. Field goal percentage, 38% to their 45. Free throws, my God. The free throws just they're missing key free throws, and it shows. They got to hit free throws. They're free for a reason. They got to hit those. 68%. Boston shot 95% behind at the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
3-point shooting. Lord have mercy. 21% behind the arc. Unacceptable. It's just and if you look at the shots, they're low percentage 3-point shots. They're terrible. Ball movement. Ball movement. I don't know what it is with this ISO. I'm gonna dribble the ball for 15 seconds and then try to dish the drive. It's got to stop. It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
The very definition of insanity is trying the same thing and expecting different results. Come on now. We got to stop. We showed that when this team plays team basketball, when there's ball movement and it's fluid, they're a very good team. They're a very good team. They can play. When there's two players that it's Bill and at times Rui. You notice there's a lot of possessions where you can see there is like 7 seconds in the clock and they're shooting. There's no ball movement. There's no fluidity in the offense. Rui, he'll get the ball with his back to the basket, and there's pretty much a 90% chance he's going to shoot it. He doesn't dish it out. He's not looking for the open shooter. It's just, again, defense, not stepping up to the 3-point shooters. They're going to cook you. These teams, look, next two games are Philly. Go ahead and play. Go ahead and play games. Philly will cook you. I'm telling you right now, Embiid will cook you. James Harden is still a threat. He can cook you. Maxey, the list goes on. Tobias Harris. You've got to step to the 3-point line. There is no communication on defense. People are lost. There's nobody taking charge on the defensive end. It's just it's atrocious. And I'm looking at West and I'm looking at Bill because Bill, yes, I'm going to put it on Bill. I'm going to tell you why, because you are that guy. You got to be that voice in the locker room. You got to step up. And Wes, you got your forte's defense. If you can't do what they brought you here to do, then at the end of the day, it's just, I get it. His father was, big name in DC, big name for the Bullets. But to a certain degree, you got to do your job. I thought it was a good signing, especially when you look at the lineage. But you have to do the job they brought you here to do. Defense has to get better on this team. So, yeah, some more takeaways. Offensive rebounds was a plus. Jordan Goode was a plus. Bro, that's about
not
it.
much. Yeah, it's not much. It really isn't. Now, Porzingis, I thought he played well, 17 points, 13 boards. I thought when they gave him the ball in the post, he was effective. He was just able to shoot over guys. Monte Morris, yeah, we got to see improvement from him. He's not able to get to the basket. He's not able to get into the paint. He's not able to penetrate and create shots for others. This is just what his real role is, really a backup point guard. That's what he was on the Nuggets. He was forced to be a starter when Jamal Murray got injured. And right now we're seeing why. Monte Morris is a good player, but 3 points in 27 minutes, 7 rebounds. You got to get more from him. And then the Pacers game, I didn't get to talk about that much. Tyrese Halliburton was just scoring on him left and right. Nobody can stop Tyrese Halliburton. Nobody can stop Mathurin. Nobody can stop Miles Turner. That game was very disappointing, to be honest with you. And Tyrese Halliburton one time did the too small gesture on Monte Morris because he was just shooting over him and scoring on him fairly easily. Kuzma just had an off night tonight too. 9 points, 9 boards, 3 for 13 from the field. Denny 6 points. Brad 12 points, 4 for 16 from the field. Just really off. Gill offensively had a solid game. 10 points, 5 boards, 4 for 6 from the field. Rui 13 points, 5 for 12, 9 boards. I thought he tried. I did like the pass that he had to Johnny Davis, where Johnny Davis did cut to the basket. But Jordan Goodwin, they may have to start him next game. Seriously, West may just have to try lineups, and if guys aren't defending, then yeah, you just got to start other people or play other people. Because Jordan Goodwin, when he came out there, he had look at the plus minus box. I know people don't really care for that stat at all, really, but it can be a misleading stat. But he was a +8. Anthony Gill was a +8 tonight too. Denny was a -9. Monte Morris was a -26, and Bradley Beal was a -13. Rui was a -17. But Jordan Goodwin, he came in there and made an impact. He got a steal, he got a block, he made a jumper. He was just running around with reckless abandon, playing, kind of like similar to DeLon Wright. His defense, of course, not as good as DeLon Wright, but at least he was giving effort on the defensive side of the ball. He forced Jason Tatum to travel at one point. So I want to see more minutes from the young man. I really do. And Johnny Davis got in there with 4 minutes left in the first quarter, so I'm happy that he's playing. If they're going to lose games and just be bad, then, yeah, Johnny Davis might as well stay and not go to the G League. They might as well just develop guys and see what they can do. I know it's early to talk about that in the future, of course, but these next couple games are going to be tough, like you said. They play they got the Sixers next, who's a playoff team. Sixers back-to-back games with the Sixers. Then they play with the Nets. The Nets aren't good, but the way that we're playing, the Nets probably they could easily blow us out as well. Then we play the Grizzlies, who are a serious playoff team as well. So, but yeah, just looking at my notes, there's not good ball right now. They look like chickens with their heads cut off on defense. Like you said, West is a defensive-minded coach, and he's really been no better than Scott Brooks on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, with Scott Brooks, we were ranked 20th in defensive rating, and then last year we were 25th under Wes Unseld Jr. So it really hasn't been much improvement on the defensive end that I've seen. Maybe the 10-3 start last year. Other than that, it's been the same old bad defense from the Washington Wizards. I have not seen anything change. And I like Wes as a person. I think he's a good guy and all, but, he struggled, with the locker room last year on defense as well. So there's a lot to be desired from Wes Unseld Jr. too.
Yeah, it is, because the spotlight is on him.
I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry to cut you off. Johnny Davis, he had like 3 quick fouls in the first quarter too. There was one time where he didn't even let Jaylen Brown catch the ball, so he just needs to calm down, relax a little bit. In the Pacers game, Johnny Davis was getting blown by too. Buddy Hield just blew by him really easily, and he was kind of a turnstile on defense too. So, but that's just my last thoughts on the game.
Nah, I mean, great minds think alike, because I was just thinking about that, and I was watching the game, and it's just the fouls. There's no discipline. The Johnny Davis fouls. It was just like they were avoidable fouls. It's just there's no discipline. It's just yeah, you got me, brother. I don't know, because it's games like these that you have to win. Look, Boston's a championship contending team. Philadelphia is a championship contending team. If you look at Brooklyn, I know that Kyrie got in a little trouble. This ain't the platform to talk about it.
Right.
But and really, as a small little note, take a look at that. Because Brooklyn, look, Indiana gave them the business too. So how long is this big three of Kyrie Irving and KD and
Ben Simmons?
Yeah. See, how long are they going to try to run those three? I mean, it's just, you could see Kyrie get moved. So that's a name to look at. But Memphis, John Morant ain't no. John Morant was single-handedly smokers. I mean, Memphis has a good team. This is the games. It's just a measuring stick game. It proved that maybe we kind of got a little hit ourselves a little bit. I'm gonna demote them a little bit. They went back to solid 3 because because it didn't look good. I mean, KP, to his defense, did contribute, but even then, at the center position, I mean, Al Horford did whatever he wanted. It's just Boston showed why they're a championship contending team. They took care of business tonight. It was just, and touching base on Monte Morris, I don't think it's too early to start talking about maybe potentially bringing in the starting point guard, because Monte, he was that guy on the bench, and obviously with Jamal Murray going out, he had to start, but he's not the answer at the point guard position. He's just not. And Yeah, it's just we have to
Mm-hmm.
look for that long-term option. Look, we got to stop trying to find these band-aids. Spencer
Right.
did what he
Right.
didn't work out.
Yep.
Now, Monte didn't work out. How many times?
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, you had Tim
Trey
Frazier.
Burke. Tim Frazier. Yeah.
I mean, the list goes
Thomas. Yeah. Trey Burke.
on. Oh man,
Shabazz Napier.
I mean, how many times we gonna try to do this? You know what I mean? It's just we have to find a long-term option. And it's just it goes back to John Wall. We haven't had that solid option since J-Dub was in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to find that long-term option. So I do see, I don't know if it's going to be at the deadline. I don't know if it's going to be at what point it's going to happen, but I do see Tommy making that consolidation trade I keep talking about, because you have to. Starting point guard is a position that we need to be solid, because Beal, he's not that guy who's going to bring the ball up. I mean, if you have to, yeah, but it showed tonight, isn't it? That was another thing that showed they called his bluff. They gave him all the time in the world to dribble, and he many times he missed a dribble, almost turned the ball over. It's just enough's enough. All right, Brad has to step up. And Kuz, you want that money, you got to earn it, man. You don't earn it just against small tier teams. You got to show up against the Celtics, the 76ers, the Bucks, the Heat. List goes on. So the way they played tonight, they played like a top 10 draft team, in my opinion.
Well, a lot of team, and the lottery may be the best thing for this team, to be honest with you. It really might be. This is a really good draft. Victor Wembanyama, I don't think they're going to be that bad to get him, but if they're a lottery lucky to have it, there's a guy named Scoot Henderson, and I'm not going to bring these guys up again until we'll see. We'll evaluate. Honestly, we got to see how this team is by the time DeLon Wright gets back, because 6 to 8 weeks from now, this team could be. They could fool around and be like 5-15. That's how bad they look on the defensive side of the ball. And just in general right now without DeLon Wright. And it's crazy to think DeLon Wright is how important. I didn't think DeLon Wright would be that important to this team. And I love DeLon Wright. I just didn't anticipate for stuff to go downhill so bad with him not being there. We didn't even talk about Gaff. Gaff had 10 minutes, 0 for 1, 0 points. Like we talked about, his contract is coming up too. So they got to evaluate what's going on with Daniel Gafford. They really do. Isaiah Todd scored tonight. Shaq will hit a 3, but that was in 5 minutes left in the game. I guess we'll get to the comments real quick and we'll wrap it up. It is pretty late on a Sunday. We just thank you guys for hanging out with us. Backs attack. He says hashtag fire Tommy Shepard. He also says hashtag sell the team Ted. We're not gonna say too much about that. It is what it is. Hey, at least the Commanders won.
There you go.
There we go. That's good news. I got my Commanders hat. You should be wearing your Legend of Taylor Heineke shirt tonight, Brandon.
I know.
You really should.
Hey, he showed out, but
he did. Bubba said it's time to go all in for an all-star. I mean, we just don't have the assets, and the picks are protected. So, I mean, it's like, who are you going to trade to bring in a guy? Like, our guys can't even get playing time. Like, Denny can't even play. Yeah. Rui barely gets playing time here and there. He gets playing time, but barely. So we just don't have any assets, to be honest. Johnny Davis barely plays. We don't have a lot of picks to really give. So, teams are looking at our assets and they're just like, you don't have anything to give us.
Absolutely. I mean, I think another question you got to ask is, what team wants any of our young guys or any?
That's what I'm saying.
Kuz, I could see would be a commodity on the trade market, and Rui could. But Kispert coming off an injury, his play style is very limited. His shooting is good, but his defense had, which one of these young guys or vets would anybody want? I mean, right. I like Barton. He's an aspiring contract, but the draft picks are an issue. The fact that we, even if you wanted to rebuild, could you? I mean, you don't have any picks, so I mean, it's just the future's in question. You were in limbo, and we've asked this question so many times. What is the direction of this team? Is it do you want to contend, or do you want to tank and develop? They don't want to tank, but maybe you need to, and Ted, there's news that he's trying to buy the Nationals. Look, should you? Look, you need to focus on what you got going on in the Capital One Center. Like, what's the direction here? So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, vlogger, that's my wife. Shout out to her. She said this game, she's saying this game was awful. Bubba said they should have taken care of business against the Pacers. They ain't winning in Boston. When's the last time they won in Boston? Tatum owned his boy Brad. Yeah, he's getting the better of Brad. He really has the last couple of games. Now I know last year we beat him twice to start off in the beginning of the year. Like the 10-3 start, we beat him. And then they beat us by like 20, where I think Tatum might have had 40 or 50, something like that. And then also Porzingis, after they lost against the Pacers, Porzingis said we underestimated them, which is terrible to hear because we're only 3-1, and then the last time we played them, we barely beat them. So how can you underestimate a team that you barely beat when they were missing Miles Turner and you're only 3-1? So that was very interesting to hear from Chris Stapps. And then also Wes Unseld Jr., this was a quote from Wes Unseld Jr. after the game. He said, talking about Denny being benched in the second half or not starting, he said, quote, "I didn't think he played the way we wanted him to. He struggled defensively. It's going to happen some nights. That's okay. He'll get another crack at it," end quote. So big B Viggy 630. 630 says DeLon getting hurt seems like it really hurt the morale or something. We talked about that. Chimp Slayer says Unseld got to hold his hand up. Did you have any thoughts on that or no?
Yeah, Wes, man, he needs to step it up. There's another comment on here about rotation. I mean, yeah, it's just overall just a disappointing loss. It's just from the players, the coaching, just man, and that's the thing, is just you don't know how to feel as a fan because again, there's no direction. Are you sad or you don't know? I mean, I know there's a lot of fans have been saying, hey, go ahead and look terrible so because the draft looks good, So I don't know. Brad being the guy, you got to question that. There should be no off nights. So
right. Yeah, they have to evaluate before the trade deadline. They do have to pick a lane and pick a direction. They really do, because if they make the playoffs, or if they don't make the playoffs, they keep their pick. If they make the playoffs, then the pick goes to the Knicks, who own the rights to our pick. So you got to look at it that way. Is it better to lose and get our lottery pick, or make the playoffs and we don't even have a first round draft pick? So you got to look at it that way too. And they need young talent. They got to draft, because no free agent is going to come here, and we're not going to trade for a big name guy. We always miss out, like Donovan Mitchell. That was somebody that the Wizards were reportedly interested in, and they couldn't get him. So we never end up getting big name trades. That's just not how it works out for the Washington Wizards.
And it's crazy because if you look at Donovan Mitchell trade, what did Cleveland really give up? Larry Marketing, that he wasn't even part of the long term
Sexton
plans anyway. Yeah, Colin Sexton.
They gave up Ochai. They gave up Ochai Agbaji, who they just drafted this year, who was a rookie. They traded, I want to say, 3 first-round picks too. So they did give up a good amount to get Dom, but it wasn't as much as the Rudy Gobert trade, because the Rudy Gobert trade was like 5 first-round picks or something. It was just, yeah, it was crazy.
That changed the whole landscape of the NBA right there. It was ridiculous.
Right. Omer says Bill's not number one, and he knows it. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Baltimore Get Up says, hate to say it, I wish we didn't get Bill and got Donovan Mitchell. I won't say too much on that either. Van Gogh says, I'm excited about the Wizards' play. If we continue this play, we get the number 1 draft pick. What are your thoughts on that?
There you go. That's the spirit. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you can't say he's too off point. I mean, it's confusing right now because going into the season, we keep saying it. Going into the season, we had optimism. We had a lot of optimism. It's just, why not? I don't want to say why not tank, but because obviously you want to see a team compete. It's just, are we fooling ourselves? Bradley Beal, how long are we going to wait for him to be that guy? You know what I mean? Like how long? And really, you have to wait because he's got a no trade clause, so you can't flip him. It took so long to flip him, and now, he dictates everything. So he's got all the cards in his hands. So.
Yeah, and he is what he is. He's, I don't see him improving his game or getting any better. He's really improved his game, of course, from his rookie year. There were times where he couldn't even dribble the ball. He struggled to dribble the basketball. He's gotten so much better. The John Wall years, he's been able to put the ball on the floor and create for himself. His shooting has dropped off tremendously. It's like he's shooting 25% from the 3. It's basically like last year. And we were trying to say last year was an outlier that it won't happen again, but it's kind of looking the same shooting numbers this last year and turning the ball over as well. He's become a better passer, but he's still turning the ball over too. But yeah, I mean, guys don't want to come here and free. We're not a free agent destination, so you have to build through the draft. It's the only way the Wizards can really get better. You're not going to trade for a big name guy. The only guy that I can see being disgruntled and wanting out is somebody like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's somebody they should really try to get. But what are we going to give up? Because of course the Thunder, they want picks, so it's a conversation for another day. Getting that top pick, like I said, I'm not going to bring that up until later. We got to evaluate and see. So I'm not going to bring that up yet. I'm not going to bring the tank word up, or the T word as they call it. I'm not going to talk about that. It's a little too early for that. Gilly Barahoff says we can't get to nothing good if West is the coach week. He also says players don't respect him by the way they defend. Yeah, they didn't respect him last year, obviously, from what we heard and all the rumblings in the locker room and stuff like that. So that's something that he has to work on. Getting respect from the locker room and guys. That's something he really has to work on. Ronan Zimmer says, I didn't know Denny guarded both Tatum, Brown, and Smart. Then West mentions him. Did you see how Tatum made easy shot on Bill? Did you have anything? Brandon, did you want to respond to that comment?
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't high five him after you did it. Oh man, it's just yeah.
We'll read a couple comments and then we'll wrap up tonight. Vango says, to be honest, the way this team is assembled, they're not making the playoffs. We'll see. I said 40-42 before the season. So we'll see. Bill had 0 points until garbage time. Nati Kasahan says, how about the Commanders? Yes, sir. We touched on that a little bit. We're not going to talk too much about it because it is Locked On Wizards. But yeah, Biggie C says the whole team is in different directions. 7 for 32 from 3, 38 from 9, 38 for 98 from the field. Shaking my head. Daryl Haiti says they're still lacking a point guard. Yeah, they just don't have a point guard, and it's a tough one. They got to have a short memory and bounce back against the Sixers. So, Brandon, did you have anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Right. Real fast. Like you mentioned, free agents not want to come here. The perfect models are already in the Eastern Conference. Is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
Same issues that we had. Free agents not wanting to come here. You've got to build through the draft. You've got to really make these under the radar signings. So, I'm gonna remain optimistic. It's my team. Hope for the best. It's just, going forward, we're gonna get tested. 76ers, look, they're trying to get that chip.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis. So, hey, let's keep it moving. Let's push forward.
Right. Yeah, we always struggle against Joel Embiid. Now we did beat them last year too. But it's gonna be a tough matchup. Tyrese Maxey always has a good game against James Harden. So got to box out, got to rebound, defend the 3-point line, communicate on defense, and just play with some pride, man. Play with some pride. We got to get Bill going early. He's got to get early. He's got to get started and going from the jump. Same thing. I thought Porzingis played well, but overall, I want to see Jordan Goodwin get some more minutes tomorrow night.
Oh, absolutely. Jordan Goodwin was a bright spot tonight. I like what I saw from him. So, hey, like we said, remember Monday night, 76ers at home, and then Wednesday night at Philadelphia. So, look, they got their work cut out for them. But hey, thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and a take of the day. Available on Odyssey, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. So again, tomorrow night at home against the 76ers, show out, give them some support. Please like, subscribe, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out me and my guy, the real Ed Oliver. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I know it's a late one, but appreciate you. And hey, at least we got a dub with the Commanders, right? So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So hey, everybody have a good night and peace.
Peace.